From our perspective, looks at the lives and behaviors of millennials, Generation Z, and the changes that are happening in our 21st century and the innovators that are making it happen. We will explore trends, technology, music, fashion, social media, business, science, the arts, faith, and lifestyle. So come join us on Comcast, Verizon, and online.
I'm Janaea, and today we're going to talk about expectations, and so we have some young Gen Z people here. I have Bree and Samantha. Okay, so first question is, what expectations did your parents have for you? And I'm going to leave it open-ended. It could be with school, like career, even like relationships, because sometimes parents orchestrate our romantic relationships. They're like, nah, he's not good enough. They do. Anybody wants to jump in, they can.
I'll go first. My mom put herself through college because she had my older sister. She would waitress on the weekends to save up for school for herself. So she did 4 years, I think, at a university, and then she did some community college when she couldn't, afford as much. So she's a nurse practitioner. I think she has a master's in science or something like that. So she definitely wanted me to continue my education past like high school and go to college and graduate. But I did 2 years before I dropped out because I was just not a good student and I wasn't as dedicated to it as I should have been for how much money we were spending. So it just made sense to drop out. And in that process, I thought it was going to be a lot harder, but she was really understanding about it just because school isn't for everybody. And, at that time, it didn't feel like I knew where to go after that. But she was really understanding about it and welcoming about it. She doesn't really have expectations about my relationship, but
I feel like there's even like the way that your mom worked so hard, right? I think that sets a different like standard for you, and that probably put a lot of pressure on you because it's like, wow, you have sacrificed so much for me to be like living successful and active in this world, and now I'm not doing it the way that is like secure. I feel like that's like the word at the end of the day, is that in like a set plan with school, there's this many years, you have this degree, it's going to get you here, you can kind of map it out and feel secure, but then anything else, which like I feel like the Lord has a specific and special plan for each person in their lives, and it just can't look like anybody else's life in their journey, and yet we feel more comfortable when it does look like everybody else's life in their journey.
I feel like it feels a lot more comfortable when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And like, yeah.
Where does that even come from? Like the supposed to? What is the supposed? It's like society, and I feel like social media has a lot to do with it, because you just see a constant highlight reel of people's lives and their accomplishments, and you're like, ooh, I don't have anything to post. Where are my highlights? And it can really affect your self-worth. But Samantha, I want to hear from you too. Even if it's not, since we kind of opened up the door, it doesn't even have to just be those parental expectations, even like societal expectations, or how your life plan maybe didn't follow how everyone expected it to go.
Yes, so that's really interesting. My mother, she's the main support for me, and she doesn't really have any certain way that she wants my life to go. I mean, she just tells me that she generally wants me to be financially successful, which I also want, of course. And and she was very confused at first when I was telling her, you know, I want to pursue a degree in art, because she is not familiar with that space and how that how the work field is for that. But she just trusted that, you know, God had a plan for me. And these past 2 years, since I graduated high school in 21, I decided not to go to school, even though I was accepted into different universities for art. They were just very, very expensive, and I said no, because it's one thing for me to take on debt, but then for, you know, my mom to take on debt and family debt, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna wait. So this year I just started going to community college, and that's much better because it's affordable and I can work my way towards a transfer program. So she's, you know, very happy with that. And that's not how I thought my life would go, because I wanted to go to a big art school. I wanted to, you know, go to college right away, like most of my friends were doing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I looked around, all my friends, they were going to these big 4-year universities. And I was like, I'm feeling very left out, very behind, but everything is, you know, working for my good. And yeah, I'm excited that I'm starting again. So
Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing, both of you, and just being like open about your stories and your testimonies. And I mean, yeah, I feel like I've been talking to quite a few parents lately who say that their child didn't do what they expected, and they're like struggling. Like, it really broke their heart.
Oh no.
Like, my mom is definitely one of those, and she's like, you know, like, I love you, I support you, I'm so proud of you, but I was always in the sciences, and so, you know, those are kind of those higher, like, you know, the Trinity, like the doctor and the lawyer,
Like more aggressive studies. Yeah.
And like, I grew up in that, and I think, I mean, when I was little, I wanted to do insect biology until I turned 7. Then it was OBGYN, and I could deliver a baby, like, probably at 8 years old. Like, I knew everything. And then I got to college. I was in pre-med, and then I switched to biochemistry because I was like, I actually love the research and the chemical side. And then not too long ago, when I transferred to a new school, all the science programs were not good there. And I just kept trying to figure out, like, I don't understand why this is not working for me. And the Lord spoke to me, and even I got confirmation through prophecy. He was just saying, you know, you can go this route. You're very capable and smart. He's like, but I'm not going to have my hand on it. And I always knew that I was going to go into ministry, and I just thought that I had more time. And I thought I had a lot of time. I thought I'd be like 40 years old and like write a book and then like go around. But I feel like our expectations for plans are never the actual plan.
Yeah, no.
But I'm honestly, I could not be more happy with where I am now. Like, I know that if I had followed the plan that everybody expected of me, I would not be as passionate about it, and I don't think I would be making an impact in the world the way that I'm supposed to. So I'm grateful for the detours. I feel like I kind of want to put it on like a positive spin and ask you guys, what are you grateful for? Like, with the detour, like, what's one thing that you're like, actually, I am right where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be?
That's
if there's
a good
one
question.
aspect that gives you that feeling.
Yeah.
When I was in that time, I was just stressed all the time because I felt like I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I'm not doing any of that. So, just peace, like doing what feels good for me, doing what feels good for, you know, my career or whatever I have in the future. Like, I just want to make sure I feel good every step of the way. So,
Amen to that. Peace is so so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So valuable. And it's so hard to find, I feel like, in our generation. Oh man, especially like with the news just being constantly available, constantly updated. I believe there was a study done that it said like even watching the news for like 7 minutes made people at the end of their day feel more like depressed. So
It's depressing. The news is definitely depressing. And like just social media, the way it's consumed and how it's consumed, like you'll be on Instagram,
yeah.
there'll be like a selfie or something, a video or something, and then the most tragic thing happening somewhere, and then like an ad for lotion or something, and it's like,
Oh,
I
God.
should not be watching all this back to back. It's
And
just
you don't really have control over what you're taking
Right.
in when you get into those apps.
Mhm.
It's such a hard thing. I feel like it was probably nice to be in a different generation older than ours, because I mean, I feel like life could be a little bit more simple.
I feel like a lot of youth is like attached to, like way too attached to social media, and like a lot of their expectations and their comparisons come from the social media, and that brings up a lot of, you know, stress or depression or, you know, things like that, because you're constantly seeing this person with that, this person has that, and you're looking at your life like, why?
Like, what's wrong with
what am
me?
I doing wrong?
And it's not real. Like,
lot
everything
of
you
it's
see is not real, but it's like one moment. It's 3 minutes. And it's so hard to remember that when you spend 2 hours scrolling through everybody else's 3 minutes. It feels like that's how everyone else's lives are, their entire lives. So, Samantha, what were you thinking about? What would be that one thing that lets you know I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now? I'm happy I'm in this direction.
Yeah, so my detour of, 2 years not being in school, it really did help me to have more confidence in myself, and just not to compare myself to any of my friends or anyone else and what their life was like. I realized that a lot of my expectations that I was putting on myself weren't my own, and that they were influenced by different people in my family, and even by just the way that the school structure is. Like, they teach you right when you go out of high school, you're supposed to go to college, and that's not, I didn't realize it was even an option to not go to college right after high school. So I felt like I was, a failure at first, but then it gave me the opportunity to work on projects and get some work experience that I wouldn't have been able to if I was in school. I got to do a lot of art things, like illustrate a book and work on an animation project. So that was great, and it just made me a lot more relaxed about my future, and just not worried. I'm just not as worried as I used to be about, like, what's gonna happen. I know that God has a plan, and that whatever happens, it's it's gonna be all right.
Amen. I feel like I'm hearing a general consensus of there's peace and stability in the detour. And I think we're all like so scared because of what we see, that when it happens, like when the detour strikes, you're like, oh my word, what am I gonna do? What are they gonna say? What are they gonna think? Like, how much is it even about our feelings? And it's more just about like, who's gonna be upset? And if you find your validation also in others, and it's misplaced, then it's like, now I'm not good, or I'm not good enough, I'm not successful. Do I have value anymore because I'm not doing what people expect? But honestly, I feel like in the detours where you find yourself. And in high school, in the school system, I'm not sure you have much opportunity.
You don't. Like you said, like, they tell you you're supposed to graduate, go to school, graduate, get a job, get a wife, get a husband, have kids, have the house.
Right.
So like when your path does not directly follow that, you're like, what am I doing? What should I be doing? Like,
And then all the other questions come up, like, who am I? Do I even like this?
Right.
Do I like school?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I looking forward to, like, a husband or marriage, but I don't even know me? I don't even know what I want. I want to make money. Do I want to be working here? Have I even tried a job that is like what I'm thinking about before? I think there's so much to it because we were kids, and then all of a sudden they say, you know, go by yourself and just make it.
There's no, there should be like a time where you can like step back and be like, or at least try to figure out.
I do endorse that time, especially like I kind of like mentor some of my teenagers, especially in my family, and I so encourage the gap year.
Yes,
the gap
exactly.
year. I remember there was one girl in my first year of college, and she had taken a gap year, and she had toured like 3 different countries. I think maybe it was a year or 2. So she was older than us coming in, but she came in as a freshman. She had aid, she had scholarships, and she was just so much more settled than the rest of us. I think we were just so easily like undone and disheveled. That would be the word.
I feel like high school experiences vary, but like you're just not prepared for it. Like even my first couple weeks at a university is like, I'm supposed to plan my own schedule. Like there's not a like I have to. Like it was really hard to navigate, planning out stuff like that. Yeah. And I just underestimated how hard that was gonna be, just fresh out of high school. Like,
yeah, those like executive functioning skills, and the fact that all of a sudden I'm responsible for just about everything in my life all at once. And I just left my childhood bedroom. It still looks the same. And it's all just not exactly clicking. And I think, honestly, the American school system, it's not quite geared towards setting us up for adulthood. Like, even the plan that you were saying, like, you graduate high school, go to college, graduate, get a job, get a house, get a husband. All of that stuff is such... these things are so loaded, but they make it seem like these things are just like little checkpoints.
Yeah,
or like if you had a felt board and you could put a little picture and like, yay, I did that one. But there's between and in each one of them, there's so many nuances, and there is so much work. There is struggle. You have to think about the economy. You have to think about getting a loan. You have to start building credit from a young age. Like all these things. And I'm like, I wonder if we could just do away with the delusions that we are telling children. That somehow a thing is a goal, instead of, okay, yeah, everybody has a different path. Let's work on you so that when you do go out here, maybe you would know what you wanted, or maybe you'd feel confident in battling and trying new things. That type of stuff.
Yeah.
My mom never really, going back to parental expectations, she never really put expectations on me to do anything that I didn't think was right for myself. And I have a lot of friends whose parents did do that and were like, yes, you are going to school to become a doctor because I'm paying for it if you want to go to school. Or whatever it was. And I just hear those stories and I'm like, wow, like they think, because when parents get, they might be thinking of their struggles that they had, and maybe their parents didn't help them as much. And so they want to do everything to make sure that their children are successful, but they're actually setting their child up for failure to make them go into careers and do things that they're ultimately not going to have the motivation to sustain.
Yeah. That is so true. Yeah, you should just say thank you to your mom right now when she watches this later. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thank you, Mom.
I think shout out to you, Mom. I know sometimes she'll say like, you're just so brilliant, and I'm like, it's not a waste. Like it's all being used, just not in the way that you expect it.
Right.
So I'm not going to be your doctor, but I might still have a doctorate. Oh my gosh, can we talk about timelines that nobody set up but everybody knows about? Like, everybody knows that, like, by age 30 you should be about getting married now or whatever it is. But why? Who set this up?
Yeah, just turned 25, so a lot of people I went to high school with are having their babies, they're getting their houses, and I still feel very, I don't know, unprepared for those very large, like, experiences. Like,
oh my gosh.
I just feel like if I want kids, I'll have them when I'm ready to have them. Or if I want to buy a house, I will buy it when I'm ready to buy a house. I don't want to do it just because my peers and people around me are doing it.
Yeah.
And it makes it feel like I'm supposed to be doing it because, again, comparison.
Comparison is the thief of joy, man. Yeah. And I feel like those should be joyous experiences. And on the other side, I've seen firsthand what it looks like to not be ready, but to do something because you think you should, or that it's time, and it's disastrous. And then when you bring kids into that, it's even more disastrous because that's an entire life that is now affected by dysfunction because of pressure and expectation. So I'm so grateful that you said that.
I think there's that side of it. There's that side of, like, well, I'm comparing myself and I don't really care for these things right now, or, like, I don't think I'm ready for them. But then there's a side of comparison where it's like, I want to have these things. Like, I feel like I'm ready to have these things, but my circumstances just don't allow me to have those things. Right. And that's more so what I've dealt with than what she's talking about. It's like, for example, a lot, and this is like a smaller example, but a lot of my friends, and they're like even younger than me, have their driver's license. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool, because I don't, I know that they have a lot of help from their parents and from people, and I have a little bit of help, but I don't have, like, the amount where I could get it as fast as they can. So, yeah, there's both of those sides of comparison.
Obstacles sometimes.
Yeah.
Obstacles.
They build endurance, resilience in a sense.
Yeah.
Again, on social media, you can't really see what that person's going through, or, like, you see pictures and you see moments, but you don't know what's going on over there. So you might be looking at someone's profile like, oh my gosh, she has all this, I want to be like her, and then not know that she's battling all these other things.
Right. Cry yourself to sleep every night.
Right. Like, you don't know what someone's going through, so.
Yeah. How can do you feel like there's a way when you don't feel supported to find support? Or even, like, how do you think that we as peers could better support each other, even, like, through social media? What do you think there's a way that we can reduce, like, the stereotype of expectation, just, like, with each other?
Just for me personally, when I'm having a day, I'll post, like, a sad picture with, like, a meme or something, like, I need a hug, or blah, 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 just, throwing out my needs.
Aww.
And then usually my cousins and a couple friends will, like, be like, what are you doing this day? And it'll create, space for us to, link up and check in with each other.
That's sweet.
So it helps.
So community is a big thing. It's definitely, I've just really come into community this year, and it's changed everything for me. Because life is still hard. That you cannot escape it. You can't just, unless you just stop living, you will endure struggles and detours. But when you have people who are there to encourage you and uplift you, to fall back on, even somebody just look over at and be like, oh, you're struggling too? Okay, bet. Yeah, we're in this together. What about you, Samantha? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I was just thinking that phrase, or the saying, misery loves company. I think that there's a negative connotation to that, but there's also a positive one. Like, when you're struggling, it makes it less terrible when you have someone to go through it with you, or someone who understands, even if they've already come out of that situation, but they're just comforting you and giving you encouragement. Even if they can't give you like the practical things that you need to get where you want, they can just say, hey, I've been there and you're gonna get through this.
It's so encouraging to see somebody on the other side, because when you're in it, sometimes there's that doubt. I'm like, I don't think there is another side. I think we're stuck here. But it's not true. You do keep moving. This too shall pass. So as we're wrapping up, I think what I'm going to do is, the question for each of you is, what would you have said to yourself when your detour first started and the panic set in? What would you like to say to that version of you right now that would be encouraging?
Oh my gosh.
I would say that I would tell myself you're exactly where God wants you to be, because I had this epiphany that even though I'm not where I want to be, that's probably for the best, because God knows what He wants to do in my life, and I'm just trying to get from point A to point B, but there's actually a point A, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4 that I don't even know that God wants me to go to. So just knowing that, just trusting the process and not comparing myself.
Trusting the process.
Yeah.
Because when you're in it, whew, and that, like, the expectation is like, it feels like the sky is falling, and so it's like, if I could go back and talk to that person, I'd tell her to relax, trust the process. It's just an obstacle. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Because it does.
It does. That's the wild part. And I would say, little me, I would say you're always doing better than you think you are. I think there's a lot of expectation, but just for you to be you, for the sun to shine on you when you wake up, for you to drive or encourage somebody on your walk today, like, give yourself a little bit more credit and keep moving. Because either way, you're going to get through this. You can get through it sad, or you can get through it joyful. So yeah. Any last words, my friends?
Yeah, just everyone who's going through a detour, just keep your eyes on the vision. Never take your eyes off of the vision, because it's going to motivate you to get through.
You can always change your expectations.
Ooh, let's change the narrative. Okay, yeah, so I'm Janaea. Do you guys want to say your names again?
I'm Bree.
And I'm Samantha.
And we thank you for joining us and hope you've been encouraged by this interview. Bye. Good night.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.